All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a genuinely fascinating philosophical text by Feng, and it revolves entirely around one massive, mind-bending concept: inevitability. He kicks things off with this incredible metaphor. Imagine that each of us is basically a rough stone. In our natural state, we're completely unpolished. And it's only through this rigorous, intense process of cutting and polishing that we can transform into these useful, geometrically perfect gemstones. Feng calls this polishing process cultivation and practice. But, and here's the real catch, to reach what he calls the kingdom of freedom, you can't just skip straight to the end. No way. You absolutely must first understand and actually pass through the kingdom of inevitability. So we're going to map out exactly what that kingdom looks like. Which brings us right to the core question driving our entire journey today. Think about it. As you go about your day, making choices, doing your job, talking to friends, are you actually exercising free will? Or, as this source text proposes, are our lives simply running on a strict, pre-written underlying operating system? It's a wildly provocative thought, right? And as we unpack the evidence presented in this source, you might actually find your entire perspective shifting.
Because there's this massive, glaring dissonance between what we think we see and what actually is. On the surface, sure, we see the illusion of chaos. The world is huge, it's packed with a million different things happening at once, it's dazzling, it's complex, it's totally unpredictable, and frankly, it can be really bewildering. I mean, think about the weather suddenly changing, or the rise and fall of whole nations, or even just a sudden illness. It all feels so completely random. But beneath all that bewildering surface noise lies the reality of order. The text argues that every single seemingly random event is actually governed by an underlying, inescapable order of inevitability.
Just to make sure we're totally on the same page here, let's formally define this concept straight from the source material. It states it simply, but absolutely. Inevitability is the order of the universe, and the order of the universe is inevitability. It's a complete closed loop. No exceptions, no loopholes, literally no accidents. Every single thing that happens is just a cog turning in this infinitely large machine. So let's actually apply this definition to different scales of reality, and we'll start from the very top. Section 1. The Cosmos and Earth. Universal Forces.
Starting out at the grandest scale imaginable, physical phenomena are essentially just massive math equations playing out to their inescapable conclusions. Stars moving in their predetermined orbits are inevitably pulled by other gravitational forces, turning into those meteorites burning across our night sky. The moon's gravity inevitably pulls our ocean tides. The movement of the Earth, well, that inevitably causes the changing of the seasons, the shifting of sand dunes, and even the drifting of entire continents over thousands of years. Even the passage of time itself dictates that migratory birds absolutely must fly south and frogs must hibernate. None of these things are making a conscious choice. They are quite literally just executing the program of gravity, heat, and time.
Section 2. History and Progress. The Human Path.
Now zooming in from rocks and stars down to human civilization, the source uses this incredibly beautiful, poetic quote to summarize the rise and fall of empires. It goes, "1,000 sails pass by the wrecked boat, 10,000 trees spring up in front of the sick tree." Think about the massive empires of early history for a second. Egypt, Babylon, Persia, Rome, and think about those towering historical figures who seem to just bend the whole world to their will. Caesar, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Napoleon. They're all gone. And the disappearance of these great empires and these massive figures isn't some tragic accident or a failure of strategy. Nope, it's simply the inevitable progression of society. Just like new trees inevitably spring up in front of a dying one, new societies are programmed to inevitably replace the old.
And we see this exact same forced progression in our technology. We went from riding donkeys to driving cars. We moved from the agonizing slowness of an abacus to the computing age. And right now, we're shifting from manual labor into the era of robotics and automation. So the really crucial takeaway here is that this relentless march of technology isn't just a testament to human genius or some random spark of invention. According to the text, these are the inevitable consequences of human survival competition. We literally had no choice but to invent these things just to keep surviving. It was programmed to happen. Section 3. Biology as a Program. The Human Machine. All right, zooming in directly onto you. We all love to think of our bodies as these deeply mysterious vessels or something completely under the control of our own willpower. But the text completely strips that away. It compares the human body directly to a complex computer. It's purely an input-output machine. Whatever content you input into the system is undeniably going to result in corresponding feedback. You, me, all of us, we are biological programs running lines of code. And applying that computer metaphor to our practical, daily habits reveals a very stark cause and effect. It's like the type of seed you sow entirely determines the type of sprout you get. Input excessive drinking and eating into the machine? Well, the inevitable feedback is digestive discomfort and disease. Input an irregular lifestyle? The system outputs physical weakness and fatigue. The text even goes so far as to state that inputting pent-up emotions or twisted thoughts inevitably leads to major illness, cancer, or heart disease. It's a pretty harsh reminder that we absolutely cannot cheat our own biological programming. Plus, this biological programming dictates our entire timeline on Earth, from an embryo to an infant, moving into your youth, transitioning into adulthood, and finally facing old age, physical decline, and wrinkled skin. These are inevitable physiological developments. You can't pause the program, you can't hit rewind, and you certainly cannot negotiate with it. We're all just passengers on this biological ride, completely and utterly bound by its predetermined steps.
Of course, this rigid biological programming extends way beyond just humanity. The entire ecological balance of nature is locked into this exact same inevitability. Wolves do not eat grass. Bats come out at night. Trees don't bear melons. Every single creature and every plant has its specific, inevitable role that maintains the balance of the whole shebang. Nature doesn't improvise. It just executes its programming flawlessly.
And within that natural programming, there's a universal rhythm that applies to absolutely everything. When things flourish and reach their absolute peak, think of a full moon or a raging massive fire, they absolutely must inevitably decline and wane. The moon wanes after it waxes full. When people become incredibly strong, they inevitably perish eventually. Apples inevitably fall from the branch, bodies inevitably die. Reaching the absolute maximum of any state practically guarantees the unavoidable transition right back to its opposite. Section 4. Life Inevitabilities. Our Personal Fates.
So bringing it all home to our individual personal fates, the text makes a really profound point about where our journey even starts. It says, dragons give birth to dragons, the offspring of rats will dig holes. Just think about your own life for a second. You had absolutely zero say in the era you were born into, right? Or the geographical location of your birth, your exact genetic makeup, or who your parents were. All beings have no choice in their origins. Our very starting point on this planet is a forced, inescapable inevitability. We were just dropped here.
But the author actually goes even further, and this is where it gets heavy. The text claims that all these massive aspects of human life are entirely out of our individual control. It's a bit overwhelming to look at, isn't it? Whether a person experiences murder and imprisonment, the exact level of wealth, fame, and status they end up achieving, the sudden turning points they encounter, their romantic luck, all the way down to their ultimate life path, the balance of their prosperity and adversity, and get this, even their destination after death. According to Xu Feng, these are all inevitabilities. We're essentially just experiencing a script that has already been completely finalized.
Which leaves us staring down this final, massive question. Can humans ever actually escape the shackles of inevitability? If the stars, the empires, our own biology, and our very life paths are completely governed by this unyielding cosmic order, do we have any true freedom at all? The text hints that only by first deeply understanding this kingdom of inevitability can we ever hope to reach the kingdom of freedom. But after looking at the immense, staggering scale of the programming we're up against, I'll leave it to you to ponder. Is escaping the program even possible, or is the desire to escape just another line of code? Thanks for exploring this with me on The Explainer today. Keep questioning the world around you.